Here's the story of why I left my over $500,000 a year business in the lighting industry, in the film industry, the world where everyone gets so excited about being in movies and meeting actors, and went to work at a cryotherapy clinic for $16 an hour. This story is going to have twists and turns you guys couldn't imagine and all kinds of crazy endeavors that I never would have found myself in. So let's start at the beginning, why I even started in the first place. So my first job ever was working at a supplement store. And during that job, I bought a Canon, I think T7i or like M50 or something old. I was like 18. I was really young. And I've always like kind of being creative, kind of having this eye for making something pretty. I've never been a great painter, not a beautiful singer. I didn't have anything else that was like a good creative outlet. So I ended up making that creative outlet photography to an extent. And I loved YouTube when I was younger. I was actually a gamer YouTuber when I was a younger guy. And in doing that, I thought, okay, let's try this thing out. Because I loved movies. I loved TV. I loved, that form of art where I could learn more and more about, other people's experiences and just kind of getting engulfed in another world, which this will, tie back to what we're doing now. But so I picked up that camera and I started just shooting stuff, and they were terrible videos, terrible photos. Nothing was good. But I thought, I think I could make money from this because I'm not terrible to other people. Like other people would be like, hey, can I just pay you to come do it? And I'd shoot something like, oh, this is great. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I was good. And there's an ongoing theme you'll hear throughout the story of, I never really thought I was that good at anything, but people said I was good. And I was like, well, if everyone's saying I'm good, I might as well be good. Right? So I had that camera. We were working at a supplement store. I started shooting some content for them, just some ads, some like general video content as it grew and as it changed. And I thought, okay, let's keep this up. Let's keep scaling it. And I actually started a podcast. I had a podcast studio in the back of the supplement store that I kind of ran a little bit and did some episodes with. And, it was kind of a start. It's funny that I tried to start a podcast studio probably like 5-10 different times throughout my career and just didn't. But I ended up getting more and more work. And I realized that in photo, because I did a lot of photos, like a few weddings, stuff like that, there was a lot of money in photography, like not a lot. And in doing that, I was like, well, I want to make money. I know I want to do really well, and I want to do something great with my life. So I ended up doing more video work and started buying better and better cameras. Bought my first Red, bought an Arri. These are like super expensive cameras. Spending $5,000-$10,000 on cameras. And they were crazy investments. I over leveraged myself out of no one's business. Like I was just not a great business guy yet. So I ended up going to different businesses, and they were production studios because I saw a lot of people doing these movies and productions and thinking, well, I want to do that. And it's really cool. So I had probably 4 or 5 different businesses that every partner was just not good. And I had an ongoing theme, and I never learned my lesson until now, that having bad business partners does not work. It just doesn't work. It's not what you want. A bad business partner will set you back years. So spend a lot of time picking a good partner. So I had a few different businesses. They were scaling, they were growing, they were doing the thing, but not to the level I wanted them to do. And, I eventually kind of landed on my lighting business. And let's say I probably had 5 or 6 different businesses that did not work out. I was making maybe $50,000, $60,000 a year. And I always made around that. I probably have to go back and look at the books, but that was just like me, solo guy, doing my own thing. But I was a hustler. I was a go-getter. I would DM people. I'd be on Facebook Marketplace. I'd be on, Facebook groups. I'd be anywhere I could to try to find a client, and I would go after it. So in doing that, I met this guy, and this guy had a big warehouse, like over, let's say 50,000 square feet, ginormous warehouse downtown Louisville. And we started the business, only put like $2,500 each in. And I grew it to $500,000 of revenue and then inventory on top of that. Like it just blew up outside of there. But the thing is, I got burnt out because I was the guy who was driving a lot, did a lot of the driving, did a lot of the leading. And when you're in a position where you feel like you're always driving, you feel like you're always leading, and then you're dragging this thing behind you, and we're not able to elevate because it's just not in that mentality. And this is a big part where I learned that, mental health in the workspace is really important. Being able to have these good standards for yourself and be like, I'm just gonna work hard. And what I love doing is working really, really hard. And that's what I did. worked on movies. I did the thing, and I was a lead. I was in charge of, I was a DP on sets, in charge of, 15, 20 people. I was a gaffer in charge of teams of like 8. So leading these good sized teams on these, 2-month long projects. And I started to lose the fulfillment because none of the projects were really like amazing. They're like, okay, some of them were cool. And then I did the cool projects and I was like, even then it was kind of So you got less and less of the creativity that fueled me in the beginning. And creativity can rear its head in a lot of different ways. Creativity is not just, let me make a pretty picture. Creativity is, I'm going to show the world what I experience in the way that I can show it. So what does that mean? That means that I'm going to work really, really hard and build this thing in my way. I'm going to do it my way. That's creativity. So if you're a business owner, you are creative. You're creating a business in your vision. So think of yourself as creative. Like, we're all creatives to an extent, but it's all about how you view yourself. So I felt like I was losing my creativity. I was losing the freedom, the ability to scale and really make it what I wanted to make it. And in that sense, I got very disinterested. I got disinterested because when I'm not able to do what I want, and I've always been like this, when I can't do what I want and feel free, and if I can't look at the sky and be like, oh, anything's possible, then I know something's wrong, because anything is possible, always, 24/7. So in doing that, I walked away. I asked my business, dude, I just don't want to do this anymore. I want to sell half of it. I don't care. Might as well just leave with something. And then we ended up not selling half of it because whatever. But I just walked away. Didn't want to do it anymore. And was like, okay, I had this thing. I think I made, okay money as an owner. The company was feeding itself really well. I was getting really busy as an independent contractor. And I was like, okay, I'm not bad. Like, I actually got really, really good at a certain craft. And I was a specialist, and I had to go back to being a generalist. And specialist in the sense of, like, I was a gaffer. I had this one thing. So, like, imagine if you're a CFO, like, I was just a really good CFO, and that's it. That's just an example. But then I also had to run a business. So it was like really specialized, and then did the generalization of everything else. Before this, I loved health because we started in a supplement store, got away from health because working 14 hours a day every day does not work for health. And then went back to health. So I was like, let's go back into like longevity, cryotherapy, saunas, compression, all this stuff. Got into that market, just making $16 an hour. Walked in, the guy, the owner was there. She was like, you're way overqualified. I don't know why you're here. This makes no sense. And I think there was a phase where I was saying no to more and more work because I was like, I just don't want to do it. And I think I still technically was involved in the company like 2-3 months into the cryotherapy place. So I was working for nothing, starting to do really, really well. I was bringing people into the cryotherapy clinic. I was helped scaling that. Got really interested in their operations because their operations weren't great. As of that, I mean, like the website, the SEO, because I was like, okay, maybe I can take this thing and just make it better. And even in that world, I was like, okay, I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. I couldn't just really scale it. So eventually I worked my way up, got on some retainers that were like, $1,500 a month, scaled that even more. But outside of that, I ended up leaving there because it was the same deal. I feel like I couldn't create what I wanted to create. And there were a lot of other factors that bled into that, but I couldn't do the thing that I felt designed to do. So leaving that, I then was like, okay, I don't know what I want to do. I worked at a different med spa. Now this med spa, much better environment, the owner and I resonate very well. We still work together today on how can I just grow this thing, scale this thing, make it as big as humanly possible. So that one, I was able to flourish. And in doing so, I launched my first podcast studio. And launching my first podcast studio, as a side gig, I just wanted to make content. It ended up picking up and making money. And now where we're at today, but this isn't a story of where we're at today, it's a story of how I got here. So, if I had to really reflect back and think, why did I decide to leave? Why did I make all of these changes in my life? It all comes down to the feelings that I had, the emotions that were inside of me, and not resonating with those emotions, not, giving those emotions validation, giving those thoughts and those feelings reality. I would push them down, like, whatever, I'm busy, I don't have time to think about it. And as I gave myself more time and energy to think about it and to grow, that allowed for all this new opportunity, which was great. That's what felt really good. So message for you today, our ending message will be, if you're in a place right now in life where you don't feel fulfilled, you don't feel creative, you don't feel like you have the ability to look up at the sky and say, I can do anything I want, that's probably influenced by the positions you're at in your life now. You'll need to change those positions. You'll need to change what's happening there, and then everything else will go. But this is your foundation. Your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, you on the inside and here, if those aren't right, if that's not set to the place you want it to be, and like I said, right isn't not mentally healthy, not like, oh, I'm super happy all the time. Mr. Beast is not mentally right, but he is focused. And he's like, I just love it. It's just all I want to do. And I can do it. That is where everything flourishes. And that's where you want to be. That's where your business will do better. So hope you guys got value from today's video. Hope it gave you some context of, the journey that I went on. And this is let's say it's maybe like a 3 to 4 year transformation. Let's maybe say it was that, of this huge life change, going from 8 years in one industry to totally switching and going to a new industry. But you guys can do anything. And, I've always been a very not care. I just do things all the time. I'm just like, if it happens, it happens. There's no, I think I lack the worry about risk brain cell. It's not there. And when you lack that, plus the creativity wanting to create, that's where the sky's the limit. That's where it gets really cool. So I hope you guys can do amazing things. I want to see your businesses grow. If you want help growing your business or want help with, figuring out how to scale, I do mine through social media. If you want to figure out how to scale through socials, I would love to have a conversation with you. Leave a comment below. Reach out to me on a bunch of different platforms. Look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.